Welcome to the PA is In, the show created by PAs for PAs, where codependency with your supervising physician is a thing of the past, optimal team practice is the future, and physician associate has taken the place of physician assistant as the professional title of choice. I'm Tracy Bingaman, and I'm obsessed with redefining what success as a PA looks like and what it feels like. Here you'll find the mindset shifts, systems, and processes I use to escape healthcare burnout and integrate my work into my life. Work-life balance is a myth, and an integrated life where you thrive professionally, not a balancing act, is the goal here. My mission is to help you to grow into a unicorn PA who loves their job, has abundant energy, time to spare, and work-optional financial freedom. The PA is in. Jono, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here.
You're very welcome.
Could you just take a moment to introduce yourself to our listeners? Tell us a little bit about you and what you do.
Yeah, so hello to your listeners. My name is Jono Lippman. I am a PA, emergency medicine and emergency critical access rural medicine in Spokane, Washington, all the way on the other side of the country. The more seemingly irrelevant city in Washington, but we're surrounded by mountains and wilderness and snow, and it's great. Um, So I've been a PA for a little over 5 years now. I was a career change PA. Spent, and we can talk about this if you would like. Spent years working with students, doing high adventure work, overseas work, a lot of like experiential education, which then led to getting into medicine. Um, I am married. I started PA school with one daughter. I ended with three daughters, and I now have six kids, four girls and two boys, and our last was born 6 weeks ago. Yeah, so that's a little quick summary.
Yeah, so there are not many guests that have me beat in the kid category, and you are one ahead of our five. I would love to share. Yeah, so we only have five kids, so not six. So, can you tell me, for those of us who live not in a place where critical access is a thing, what exactly is that? That's you're the one provider in the ER. What does that mean?
So, critical access, there's obviously like a federal government requirement of what a critical access hospital is, but they serve a population in rural settings that don't have immediate access to larger hospital settings. So it's generally the critical access hospitals I work to have like emergency, a 24-hour emergency department, sometimes OB-GYN. They have CT, X-ray, sometimes ultrasound, and then a hospitalist or like an inpatient hospital side. So it is rural community medicine and the emergency side of things. Um, and yeah, when I work there, I'm completely autonomous and I do 24-hour shifts.
That's a long time. How many patients are you seeing in a 24-hour shift?
Sometimes it's pretty great. I see like three or four and I get a lot of other things done. Other times it can be pretty chaotic, but it comes in waves. It's not like I also work in um, a more urban setting where you just get to work and you just have a full board and you're seeing patients constantly the entire time. This is, I get there and sometimes I'm like, I don't see patients for 6 hours because no one comes. But then a STEMI comes or a trauma comes, gunshot wounds come, or just, benign, unscheduled primary care stuff comes. It's all of it. And if something goes really bad, the nice thing, it sounds really scary if you're a PA. And it was really scary to me when I first did it. Someone kind of called me into it and encouraged me to step out and try it. I'm like, fine, let's try it. If things go bad, you have a helicopter. So for us, it's life flight. There's other companies that do it. Your job is to stabilize and transfer. So, like an example is I had a multiple gunshot wound come in, two different patients. I was running multiple traumas, and in that case, you're not getting fancy. You're running through the ABCDE. You're stabilizing the patient, and then you're getting on the phone with the nearest trauma center saying, "I have this. We need to send this." They say, "Great." You do whatever you can to make sure that patient's not going to die in that moment, and then you transfer them. Same thing with like heart attacks, strokes. There's always a teleneuro. There's always a cardiologist. The challenge is like anywhere else, consequently, like everyone thinks like, oh my gosh, how are these patients gonna have follow-up? I'm like, they're not having good follow-ups in most cities anyways. So, yeah, sometimes you get some scary things. One that sticks out with me is that I had a patient with Ludwig's angina, like very clearly woody edema, um, not well, but uninsured migrant worker, did not want to go to the hospital, absolutely refused. And to me, I'm like, I need to say to this person, we need to take this person's airway and transfer him to a hospital. Like that's how I was feeling. And him and his son were like, no, 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 we're not going to do it. And so at some point, I was like, all right, well, if it gets worse, come back. And then I followed him and saw that he had come back, I think, the next day, and then was admitted to a larger hospital. Never was intubated, but he had IV antibiotics, and all that was just like a very scary thing for me. So that's kind of the like bad of it. The good is, I think it's really great. It's really fun to be in a rural setting. It's really fun to be somewhere where you can't necessarily just rely on someone more educated than you. You have to make your own decisions and you have to be prepared.
Yeah. Does that challenge you still as a provider? Like, even now that you're years in, like, do you still feel like, do you ever get comfortable? Because you talking about those things as someone who is a surgery provider who's always worked in a big network, where, like, even if I wasn't at the hospital with, like, the CT surgery, like, I could always get to them or my patients could get there. I'm, like, alone in the wilderness, like, this, like like, you're like I'm like, "Wow, like, you're the only one." I think I could do it, but, like, are you comfortable or are you still occasionally terrified?
No, I'm terrified. Like every day. I mean, um, I think I know my resources a little. I've done it for a year now, so I would never call myself an expert at it. But what I find is the in those settings too, you're not like, oh my gosh, I just need to move these people through the system because we're so backed up because it's a crazy urban hospital. It's like, okay, if I'm concerned about A, B, C, or D on this patient, I can take my time and work them up. Sometimes it's very clear, like stroke, large embolism, gonna give them TNK, they're gonna go fly out to some hospital, and you're just like, it's very clear. Like the scary stuff actually isn't that complex because it's very obvious. Like if someone's having a blatant heart attack, you treat the heart attack. It's the like middle of the road, like, I don't, is this something? Is this not something? How do I make this decision? That's when sometimes you get a specialist on the phone or some hospitalist like, hey, I'm thinking this. Can you like, am I off base? And generally most people are really gracious about it. Um, so yeah, it's terrifying. It should be terrifying. Like I don't think anyone, physician, PA, or NP should be comfortable 2 to 3 hours away from any large resource.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that when you get in that situation where you no longer feel challenged or you no longer feel scared, you probably don't care anymore.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Like you should always have a little sense of unease.
Sure. I mean, and even if it's a sense of unease for what could go wrong, like always thinking of like I'm thinking of when we used to dissect in the OR and I spent a lot more time in the OR, years ago than I do now. We would be dissecting and my surgeon would always be saying, you have to know what you can't see. You have to know what's underneath here. You have to know what's sort of lurking. You have to know your way around. So even if someone's like stable, you have to know what could make them unstable and what you would do about that. And like sort of running through those scenarios in your mind and being prepared for those what ifs, like that's what makes you a good provider is knowing, that gray area and like, okay, we're okay. But if this happens, we wouldn't be, or if this happens, we would be.
I heard a really great there's like a word of wisdom from someone who are talking about running codes and rapids. I think it's just on a podcast, but talking about you're running a code on a 90-year-old that doesn't have an official DNR, and a lot of times people are like, why are we doing this? This person's old. This person's not going to live, and it sometimes seems futile doing it. But I think, like you said, like being prepared for the what ifs, like the reason that you do try to do the best code, rapid trauma code on someone that has lived a wonderful full life, and it's a little less tragic if things go wrong, is for when the 8-year-old comes in. and or the 20-year-old, and you can't panic, and you have to be calm. And that um like the first time I was in a situation like that, where it's nerve-wracking, someone's not doing well and you have to make a decision, um was scary. But then you kind of take a step back, and even simply, like, that's why the ABCs are such a big deal. Of like, you have a moment of like, oh no, okay, step back, okay, airway, great, breathing, great, circulation, great, all those things are okay, all right, what's the next step, and who do I need to talk to? um and I would say, to any of your listeners, and I listen to some of your stuff, and part-time and taking control of your schedule, a lot of these places are quote unquote undesirable locations that people, one, pay well to go to, have a lot of need, but also are really beautiful. There's just like beauty in rural agriculture. There's beauty in, like, I haven't done it yet. I get emails every week from like Alaska and Montana and these places that I'm like, oh my gosh, I just want to put my kids in a plane and I want to go work here for 3 months because it's just like beautiful. And I can do that. Like, I'm not scared to go have some adventure, and I don't feel completely stuck and married to a large hospital system, um, with this under my belt. So it's really nice.
Have you ever opened a CT, MRI, or X ray and felt a wave of self doubt? You're not alone. Whether you're a new grad or stepping into a new specialty, reading imaging can be one of the most intimidating parts of clinical practice. That's where Guardian Light CME comes in. This interactive, case based tool helps you to sharpen your imaging skills and earn CME while you do it. Start now at zaronlabs.com/guardianlight and use the code Tracy10 for 10% off. You'll review real-world cases with clinical context, scroll through the actual imaging just like when you review imaging at work, and here's the best part, test your eye by toggling key findings on and off to see if you can catch them on your own first. You'll find real imaging impressions, clear teaching points, one-click CME certificates, and new cases sent directly to your inbox each and every week. You get to see it, know it, and catch it before it matters most in real life. Are you ready to gain clinical confidence and read images with ease? Head to zaronlabs.com/guardianlight. That's ZAURON labs.com/guardianlight, LITE, with the code Tracy10 for your discount. Absolutely. And I think the beautiful thing about being a PA is both the ability to pivot your career if those opportunities come up, and the fact that all that you know is cumulative. So, like, the fact that you've worked in that situation, no one can ever take that away from you. Like, even if it's 20 years from now and you're stepping back into an emergency room setting, you never forget what you knew. Sure, technology is going to change. Sure, evidence is going to have changed. But if you know how to do that, you could do it again, or you could figure out how to do some other acute care in some other setting for sure.
Yeah, yeah, it's fun. It's hard. Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah. So, talk to me about what work life balance, which is not my favorite phrase, but what that looks like for you in terms of having all of these kids working these potentially really long shifts at wonky times. Like, how do you guys make that work?
Well, that's funny. I saw too, on one of your podcasts, you were talking about that. You're like, I don't really like this phrase, and I was like, oh, finally, good. It's a lie. Like, work, and I tell this to PA students. All, people are like, I want to be a PA because there's better work-life balance. I'm like, no, there's not. It's not true. That's not true. Whoever told you that is an influencer, and they're lying to you. Like, work-life balance is absolutely a lie. Work-life balance is only something that you create. And there is no, like, every job, every school, everything you do will suck the life out of you unless you keep them from doing that. That is, and I said that to someone recently, like, whoa, that's really cynical. I'm like, yeah, it is. It's also true. Cynicism in many of these settings is true. Like, be cynical to the things that you should be cynical. No employer is going to take care of you. No job is going to make. I'm sorry. I'm going to get heated on this. I'm going to calm down. Um, I I think I actually you just said that I just because I was listening today. You said work life integration, and I really like that, or something to that extent, right? Is that okay? Um,
I like to say life work integration because I like to put work second and life first.
I think people hear work-life balance and they envision some influencer working from their computer on a private jet, going on these trips. And most people, like, life is a grind. It can be really hard. Your job is exhausting, and everyone complains in medicine because we have a really broken system that we work in. Yes, you're also not manufacturing iron, lead, or like working in like lumber. Like, you're not beating your body up. You have excellent work life balance. And if you can set boundaries on that, you can do a lot of stuff. All it just takes is saying no. If someone says, hey, we're going to do this meeting or we want to plan this thing, you're like, no, man, that's a family day. I can't do that. Okay, then we're just going to have to adjust and do it a different time. You're going to piss off some employers, but that's okay.
I feel like I read this book once, which was talking about how this little girl was saying to her mom, like, what if I quit soccer and then the coach is disappointed or dad is disappointed, and the mom was like, honey, your goal in life should be to disappoint as many people that don't matter as possible. And I was like, oh my gosh, yes, like we need to be preaching this that like we're worried about disappointing the wrong people. Like, we're worried about disappointing our administrator and the CEO at our hospital, and, like, those people do not matter. They don't matter.
100% agree. You are 100%. I don't care, Tracy, or to any of your listeners, how good of a PA you are. You are 100% replaceable. Um, and you will retire, you will get a watch or a mug or a certificate and a pizza party or nothing, and the next day you will be dead to them. um One of the things that I've kept in the back of my mind, I really developed in PA school and started saying it, is no job or school is going to win in a battle against my marriage, my family, or my health. um and so then I've had to, like, with that being an underlying philosophy, I've had to fight for that. And that means, like, marriage, my wife comes first. Like, like if a job, for example, in December we had a stomach bug. I've had this happen two times. Um, like a year ago, we had a stomach bug go through my family, and it was like every night for 5 nights, someone was vomiting, and I was working, and my wife was up with the kids. And so, we're doing okay, we're doing fine, we're getting through this, but on night five, she gets it. And then my oldest gets it. And they're both up all night vomiting. And I have work the next day. And she's exhausted. And, I'm like, well, like, I have to go to work. So I go to work, and she calls me like an hour, and she's like, I can't do this. This is not my wife. My wife is tough, great, wonderful, lovely woman. She was not doing well. And so I said to my boss at this small clinic I worked at, that we are like a family. Hey man, I'm gonna go home. I need to take care of my kids. I'm gonna have my MA Zoom our patients. We're not missing any appointments, but just we're gonna keep the system rolling. But I need to get home. And he, first thing out of his mouth was, well, I don't know if that's in your contract to do something like that. And I said, I don't care. I'm going home. I did. Consequently, for reasons associated with that, I no longer work there because I quit. I now work with a different group. And again, similar thing happened of this year's stomach bug. This time my wife was pregnant and she was up all night and she's sick. Um, and again, have a shift in the ER. And I called and said to my boss, who's the president of this ER group, I'm like, I need help. Like, I cannot leave my wife, who just is this sick, at home with five kids pregnant. And they, within 30 minutes, had someone replace my shift. And like, go home, you're good. And that was, I'm like, so much different. And there was never like any like, why would you, like, why would you do that? Um, so that was nice they would do that. But yeah, work life balance. I think with, I mean, you have a lot of kids. It's just like, ultimately, like, I care about my job, I want to do my job well, but if there ever became tension between my wife and my kids and my employee in my work situation, this is gone. I don't care about it. It's not my identity. I think that's something that a lot of people in medicine need to get away from, is that this is not our core identity. This is a trade and a skill we have. I think a lot of people need to put the term calling, because I think a lot of people use the word calling to make themselves a martyr. Um, and yeah, you're not a hero if you work in medicine. There's no such thing as a healthcare hero. There's a healthcare employee, there's a healthcare provider. Healthcare heroes are people that get pizza and then die during COVID. Like it's just not like we don't need to die on the altar of medicine.
Yeah, it's just not worth it. And that's what I learned in my experience with burning out, was that it was just simply not worth it. And unless I said no and walked away, that it was just going to keep taking more and more and more from me. And at that point, I didn't have anything left to give. And I had a surgeon leave my group just before I left. And when he was getting ready to quit, he said, "This organization would step over my still warm body to hire my replacement. They do not care." And it's terrible, but it's also very true. And realizing that we are only people, that we have needs, and that sometimes we need to change things so that our needs are met doesn't make you selfish. You do not owe anything to society or to that employer. Um, and to your point earlier, I think that the healthcare system has come to prey on and rely on people who have poor boundaries, who care about people. So no one goes into medicine for the glory, right? Like we know when we're going into medicine.
Maybe. I mean, maybe. I think some people don't go into it for glory. I think some people have an unaddressed need to feel important that then gets them in these situations, doctor, nurse, or PA, or any role that they're getting taken advantage of, because they do feel like they're important doing whatever they're doing. Like you are offering a skill, and people say like, oh, I don't get into money. I'm like, that's 100% not true. People are getting into medicine because they get paid well. You I had a student ask me that. She's like, well, I feel really called to medicine. I'm like, why? Well, she's like, well, I want to help people. I'm like, you could help way more people being an electrician and probably make better money. Why do you want to go into medicine? Because you like science, because it interests you, just like because you want to make decent money, because it seems cool to you. You watch Grey's Anatomy and that seemed really cool, and that's okay. It's not what it's like, but so anyway, sorry, what were you saying?
So I feel like we go into it and we want to take care of patients, right? So we want to do what's best, what's right, what we feel morally, ethically, called to do. But the single most productive and revenue generating person for a healthcare system is someone who is salaried, compassionate, and has poor boundaries, which is 90% of healthcare workers. So you don't have good boundaries. The more you work, the less you earn per hour, the less you earn per patient, the less you earn per, output of your energy. And then you're just in this cycle of like, I'm doing the right thing and I'm punishing myself by seeing this person who showed up late, by adding another one on, by doing what is right, quote unquote, right.
Yeah, when I during COVID, I worked for a larger group. I was doing interventional radiology, and early on they had a 8:30 all staff. You need to be there. It's like, oh no, we're gonna lose our jobs situation. And instead, it was this is COVID. This is gonna be really hard. We're gonna have to keep going along the way we're doing. Just everyone is gonna get their pay cut 15%. And instead of saying you're gonna get your pay cut 15%, and also you're gonna get 15% of your time back, we just kept going harder, and it was abysmal.
Yeah. Nothing breeds resentment more than working harder and earning less. It's like the fastest track to burnout is feeling like you're undercompensated, you're underappreciated. So I'm wondering if you could give us some of the practical things you've done. So healthcare will always say like, can you see one more? Can you do one more? Can you take one more shift? Do this thing. How have you been able to do that in a way that is not super damaging to your ability to keep a job or land a new job, but where you can respectfully, kindly say no.
Yeah, that's a good question. Um, I think when I've worked in clinic settings or salaried settings, the people that I worked with, we were, PAs I worked with, we were just really good at graciously saying no, or if it became push come to shove, you could just say, "Hey, I'm sorry, that's not my contract." And then if they became agitated about it, which inevitably immature leaders will become agitated about those things, you say, "Great, well, if you want to sit down and have a renegotiate on my contract, we can." But for example, my schedule and my contract was Monday through Thursday at this one place I worked. And if they tried to schedule meetings on Fridays, I'm like, "I'm sorry, I don't work on Fridays." And they're like, "Well, we just need you to be more flexible." I'm like, "No, that's just, I'm sorry, that's not in my contract." And they would have much more of a like, "Hey, we're like a family mentality." I'm like, "No, we're not. We're not a family." I like, do not say like they would, "Oh, we just love you." I'm like, "No, you don't. Don't say you love me." Um, so I think it depends on the setting. It depends on your character. Obviously, you want to be a person who shows up on time, works really hard, is easy to work with, amiable with staff, amiable with support staff. You got to be in a situation where the nurses love you, um, and you have to love your nursing staff, and the doctors have to respect you, and you respect the doctors. And you have it like you have to be a professional. You have to be good at your job, and then you say, when they're like, "Hey, can you pick up the shift?" You just very graciously can say, "Hey, I'm so sorry. I'm with my family that day." It's actually really easy when you have kids, because then you could just say, "I'm sorry, I'm with the kids that day," and they go, "Oh, okay."
But even if you don't, you can just say, "I'm not available." You don't have to give a reason. So I think the other thing we do in medicine that shoots us in the foot is like we think if we're not busy doing something that's a direct conflict, that we should say yes. Like, "Oh, can you pick up this call shift?" Like, no. You don't have to say no because I have book club. You can just say no. And you don't have to have book club to be unavailable, right? No.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people get really caught up in like, "Hey, don't say you're sorry." I think it's fine to say, "Hey, I'm so sorry, I can't." Like it depends on the person. It depends on who you are. To me, I'm like, it's a gracious, easy thing to say that means nothing. You're not really that sorry.
Yeah. Sorry, not sorry. Can't come. I think that a lot of those places that say, we're like a family or like the wife of the physician is the office manager, that is a manipulation tactic for people to, I know, that is a manipulation tactic for people to get you to do things that you wouldn't otherwise. So, like, families notoriously have toxic relationships and poor boundaries. So, if your work is saying, like, we're like a family, like, we all just chip in, we all just help out, like, that might not be the best place for you in terms of professional collaboration, boundaries, and you having good work life balance.
Especially if you're someone who struggles with boundaries. If someone says, "Oh, we're like a family here," that's a big yellow, almost red light. If you're someone who has strong boundaries, then you can probably manage it for a little bit, but cautiously.
Are you feeling stuck, burned out, or craving a little more flexibility and financial freedom? You're not alone. So many clinicians feel trapped in the grind, overworked, underpaid, and unsure how to pivot. But here's the truth. Your skills are valuable beyond the clinic. That's why I created the 48 Side Gig Ideas for Healthcare Providers Guide, a free PDF packed with practical, creative, and immediately cash-generating ideas that you can start right now. From telehealth to medical writing and patient advocacy to app development, and even a little note on podcasting, these things aren't fluff. These are real, proven opportunities that other providers are already doing. You don't have to figure it out alone. This guide will help you explore new passions, learn how to make extra money, and make the first step towards multiple income streams and building the life and career you actually want. Download your free copy today at tracybingaman.com/gig or click the link in the show notes and start creating financial freedom and cash flow flexibility on your own terms. Because you, my friend, are more than just your clinical job, and taking the first step to generating alternative revenue streams is waiting for you inside the Side Gig Guide. Find it now in the show notes. It also, I found, is easier to have strong boundaries from the jump than it is to build boundaries later on once you've been flexible. Because if you answered in baskets and done all this charting for free and been available after hours, and then suddenly you're unavailable, people will notice that change in a way that's different than if you say, I don't take my laptop home, so I can't or won't chart outside of this building, right? Unless I'm on call, right? If it's reasonable for you to do that in the bounds of your job.
Yeah, yeah, I don't take charting. I've never taken charting home with me. Um, I don't, yeah, and I generally never stay late. I don't, unless something really bad happens, I've never stayed late to chart.
Yeah, which is good. I mean, everyone everyone I think can get to that point if you have a skill set of being productive and efficient with your charting. I do believe there are some practices where the providers are just flat out that they don't have time to chart. And then you need to stand up and say, this template's unreasonable. I'm seeing way too many patients. My visits are not long enough. Like, we need to get some parameters around this. I'm seeing a reasonable amount of patients because otherwise you need to pay me for my charting. That's also an option.
Or my charting is going to be subpar. You're going to bill less. This is going to be less quality care, and you guys have to deal with that.
Yeah. Or that's a huge liability for us in terms of cost. Like, that's not good either. Right. All right. So before we wrap up here, I would love for you to tell us about the PA guide. So, what is it? Who does it help? Why did you go through the trouble of creating this awesome resource?
Yes. Okay. Let me tell you about this. So you went through PA school, everyone else went through PA school. It is a hot, disorganized mess that everyone has gone through. And everyone uses the cliche, it's like drinking from a fire hose. This is a false cliche. This makes students more anxious, feel less productive, and makes PA school harder, makes way more work for PA professors and academics because people are stressed out, anxious, and not feeling productive because they don't know how to learn what they need to know to get through PA school. And a lot of times schools will say it's like drinking from a fire hose, or when you ask, how am I going to learn this? They say, you'll figure it out. And so you have now every year 10,000 PA students that are coming in deeply anxious and worried because they don't know how to learn medicine. And I was that student. And I was a communication major that avoided every science class as my undergrad, and I hated sciences and somehow got interested into it and got into PA school. I don't know why, by some miracle and gift that I did. Um, so I got in and I was like, I need to figure out how to do this. I have children and my wife's pregnant. I need to be really effective with my time. That's where this whole boundary philosophy came from of like, I am not going to lose my marriage and my kids to this. And people would be like, say goodbye to your family, say goodbye to your children. You're in PA school now. And I'm like, all right, bring it on. Like, it's a fight between your school and me, and I'm going to win. So I think I didn't make a lot of times people make the school the enemy. I made the content the enemy. I'm like, I'm gonna fight this and I'm gonna win. I'm gonna become the best student I could be, the best clinical person I could be. So I heard from one professor, and evidence bears out on this. Handwriting your notes is the best way to learn. And I said, okay, I'll do that. And so I couldn't find the right notebook, and I made, and here's some examples of it, horrible, hideous looking duct tape journals, if you see them right here, that I stole paper from the school and made all my notes. I have 14 notebooks that I made that I love that I still carry. I don't carry any of my textbooks with me because I never actually use them. Um, and I did really well in school. As a very, very weak candidate, I was class president, ran a student run clinic. I never studied at night. I took every Sunday off, and I passed the boards first try with an excellent score. I graduated with multiple job offers. Obviously, I had my highs and lows of school, but I did really well for someone who shouldn't have done well. So then working, COVID happened. I'm like, I want to work on something. I want to make something. I don't want to just sit here anxiously waiting for the world to fall to pieces. So I made this is then the first iteration of this was I have 14 just notebooks that are outlines that I sold maybe about 1,000 of them to students in the United States and Canada and the UK. just helping them organize their notes. And the biggest feedback I got from students was, this is cool. I don't know how to draw. And so my next thought was, well, I guess I'll illustrate it. That'll just take a few months, and it took me 2 years. And I illustrated 600 pages, about 900 illustrations. Everything that you would need to know for the board exam is laid out in this, and everything that you're going to learn in every section in PA school is illustrated in a way to help you understand what you're looking at in a not pathological understanding, but in like a diagnostic reasoning process. Every section is broken down into pathology, patient diagnosis, and treatment, and it's organized around the board exam. And since then, my friend and now partner has come alongside, and we decided to take this to what is the next level, and what I think is going to change the way students learn medicine, and what I hope is going to change the culture of medicine. That's my goal. So we have the board review notebook, which is designed to help students stay focused, productive, and decrease their anxiety in their studies. One. We've then created the course, which has clinical medicine and clinical pharmacology. And we're constantly building that out, adding videos to it, and adding nuanced things to it, but as based around the 2025 pants with quizzes. And then we have also created an AI chatbot. And this chatbot is meant to be an attending. So you give it a system or a chief complaint or a disease you're learning, and you may say cardiology, and it'll come back and say 35-year-old female presents with epigastric chest pain or epigastric pain and pain radiating down her left arm. What do you want to do next? And that's it. It doesn't give you multiple choice. It doesn't give you an algorithm. And you have to sit there with this phone and practice with it and reason with it. You're like, well, I'm going to order a troponin. I'm going to look at their vitals. I'm going to listen to their heart. I'm going to get an EKG. What's the EKG shit? And it'll fill those things back at you. And so you get a chance to practice real clinical reasoning with real patients that is not awkward animation. It's not clunky. It's very simple. And so we've created then in that the smart study system, which is what we're calling it now. You may be more of a branding person. If you have something better, please tell me. And my idea and the concept is with students, I want to see students getting this board review notebook, going through our review course, taking notes on it, going through the full course, taking notes on it, taking the quiz, taking notes on it, practicing with the AI chatbot, taking notes on it, and then sitting for a lecture on that concept. And what PA students and incoming PA students need to understand is your 20 to 30 minutes of preparation on a subject before a lecture is going to save you hours afterwards of trying to figure out what just happened in that hour lecture. Um, and so we've had students get on board with this. We have some schools that are starting to endorse it and try to integrate it, and we're trying to figure out how to integrate this more into the PA world. Um, because I believe that the like I said, the cliche of it's like drinking from a fire hose is only an excuse to be disorganized. And I think if students are given the right tools, they can do really well in PA school. They can learn clinical medicine. They can enter into the field not burnt out and actually excited and feeling good about what they're doing.
Absolutely. It's so interesting. I could not tell you where I heard that, but I definitely, absolutely, as a student, heard that drinking from a fire hose. Like, was it from other students? Was it from faculty in my program? Like, why is it that we think that so pervasively? And also, like, objectively, that's terribly unsafe. Like, just like think about it for a minute. Like, drinking from a fire hose is deadly. Like, this would be absolutely not a good thing to do. So why are we comparing this education for this profession that we love so deeply to something that would be like terribly harmful if you did it?
It's like if Tracy, if for some reason you came out here and we're like, hey, let's get our families together and we're gonna go backpacking. I would never take you to the wilderness and your family to the wilderness and say, okay, there are the trees. You're going to figure it out. You know, it's hard, but it's like drinking from a fire hose. You'll get through it. I would say, here's our map. Here are the tools you need. Here's the pathway. Here's where we're going to go. Here's where we're going to take breaks. Here's where it's going to be hard. Like I would give you a very direct this, and we're going to summit this mountain, right? That doesn't make climbing the mountain any easier. Having a pathway does not make it easier. Having a pathway allows you to do the work. Same with a gym, same with learning music, same with anything in life. If you have a pathway, it doesn't make it easier. It makes you capable of doing the work so that you can actually achieve the goal. If I said, hey, we're going to learn piano, but we're going to start with jazz, that's impossible. So how can you start with an expert lecture on myocardial infarct and not have an understanding of like what is a chief complaint and a differential and how do I like what is the major scale before we get into like jazz and classical music? We got to learn the basics. And I think that's what makes it a fire hose is you have, there's nothing wrong necessarily with this. You have experts coming in to lecture on the thing that they're passionate about. They're the person on this one thing. And you're just sitting there like, oh my gosh, is this all going to be on the test? And if you came in and actually knew what was going to be on the test because you had the map laid out for you, if you were using PA Guide and you had an understanding of what this concept is, then it's just like I would never say that PA school was easy, but I think it was much more enjoyable for me than it was for a lot of other people because I we would get through a test and a lot of my class would go and like day drink, which I think was just a bad life decision anyways. And I would like work out and then I'm like, great, I get to start a new notebook. Like I get to like dive into the like I'm like so excited to get into this thing. And I was like so excited to learn and build my new duct tape notebook, which is just this little productive thing that I felt good about. But I want people to feel that in school instead of like the normal PA student is a mess. The normal PA student is exhausted and anxious and stressed and crying every night. Um, and I want us to be better than normal. Like we have to be. Every field is questioning PAs all the time, right? Like you have the like, all these governing bodies that are coming after PA all the time. Like we have to be better. We have to do it better because again, no one's going to hand it to us. No one's going to take care of us.
Yeah, yeah, it's fascinating. I was just talking to one of my physician attendings the other day, and he said to me, "You know what you learn in PA school?" And I was like, "I cannot wait to hear what this man who did not go to PA school is about to tell me what I learned in PA school." But I was actually pleasantly surprised when he said, "You learn how to learn." That's how, as a PA, you can go into any specialty in any setting and end up thriving. Is you learn how to learn, and if you know how to learn, you can learn anything. So in school, you learn how to learn and like trial and error, right? You find your way. This sounds like a system where you don't have to trial and error your way to learning. And then once you know how to learn and you know how to take care of patients, you can do any specialty in any setting and you can teach it to yourself. Like you can have a great attending who teaches you lots of things, or you could have a terrible attending who is not that helpful, and you can still figure out how to practice in that specialty if you know how to learn and if you know how to take care of patients.
Oh, totally. Yeah. Yes. That's what we want to create. Like that exact feeling of like not a cliche of like you've got this. Like that's the like doesn't help anyone. But I want people to have that sensation of like I've had people get this book and they message me and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I feel like I can do this." Like that's the core um reaction I want from students. And then I want them to actually do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Go out and make a huge difference and a positive impact on the world and on medicine. So, if people are listening and they want to connect with you, they want to learn more, they want to buy their own board review PA guide, where can they go to do all of those things?
So our website's pa-guide.com. Go there. We have monthly memberships, yearly memberships. If they get a membership, you get a PDF of the board review notebook included. You get all the courses, quizzes, AI chatbot, and then access to me and coaching if you need it. And then yeah, you can do it on a monthly basis, yearly basis. And we've had clinicians and students do this. So if someone has a CME budget and they want to use it, then do the yearly one because then it's an easy way to submit that receipt. And then Instagram, jono.pa. If you go to TikTok, I have just opened one because God help me. It's pa.jono or pa-guide.jono. And then we have an X account as well, but mainly Instagram. But I can be found on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, X, LinkedIn, um, and I'm friendly. So if your people want to call me, text me, DM me, I will respond. This isn't a huge corporation. I actually really like talking with people. If you didn't get that vibe, and so I'm happy to help.
So awesome. Well, thank you for coming on, for sharing your experience, and for giving us some encouragement that there is someone out there offering some organization and structure to the craziness and the overwhelm that can be sort of learning inside of PA school. And I really also appreciate your honesty in sharing what you do in terms of building boundaries, because that's super important to me as well.
Thank you so much, Tracy. This is great.
Congratulations, you've just joined an awesome club. By listening to a full episode of The PA is In, you are officially on the Unicorn PA team. Welcome aboard. What most team members do is they subscribe to the podcast because that allows them to automatically get the latest episode of the show. The life of your dreams exists on the other side of taking action. Keep making small shifts and keep getting better. Your life will improve, your career will soar, and you will have the confidence you need to create your own success. I will see you in the next episode. This PA is out.